Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all of you. Thank you for joining us today, the first of Machinery and Equipment Productivity Nexus webinar series organized by Malaysia Productivity Corporation. Okay, the topic for today would be very interesting, is lessons being learned or lessons learned during this time. And then we look into how to use this period to rest, to reset, to recover and to grow. Now, before we get our speaker online, please allow me to give you a brief introduction. Malaysia Productivity Corporation, MPC, has been tasked to improve the productivity of all sectors in Malaysia. Now, under the blueprint, 9 sectors were identified as the key sectors to be concentrated on. Yeah? Hence, the formation of these 9 sectors, and one of them is machinery and equipment. Our nexus is known as Machinery and Equipment Productivity Nexus, MEPN. So MEPN has identified 14 initiatives for us to help improve the productivity of this sector. And one of these categories is to actually look into the empowerment and development of SMEs. And this falls under work group 3. Okay, each work group, there are 4 altogether, is led by industry association heads. So it is under good care of people well versed in the industry. Now, at this stage where MCO is foremost in everybody's mind, everybody's getting worried, everybody's concerned on how to move forward and what we can do during this period. So we, together with MPC, okay, for me, who is from Machinery Engineering Industries Federation, we decided to work together and come up with, with MEPN and come up with something that is more helpful to all our members. I know many of us here are grappling with current situation. First time ever for many of us to be under MCO. Okay, so let's see, let's bring our speaker, Mr. Royce Tan from BOSCH Rexroth Sdn Bhd, Director of BOSCH Rexroth. Let him share his thoughts with us. Now, BOSCH is a very huge company. It has seen 2 world wars, the Great Depression, oil price slumps, Asian financial crisis, but it has, every time after each crisis, it has come up even stronger and better. I think this is a good time for us to learn from people who have come out stronger and better after each crisis. Okay, Mr. Royce, I don't think there's much need to introduce you. You are well known in the circle already. So please welcome to our webinar today. Morning, Royce. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you very much, Mimi. Thank you, MPC, for inviting me and to come to address its member in MEPN. I'd like to wish all the audience outside, Salam Sejahtera, good morning, Vanakkam. And today is Thursday, right? So let me very quickly introduce myself to those of you who may not have met me before. My name is Royce, totally Malaysian, very blue blood. And I have been with the BOSCH Group for the last 26 years. And before that, I was also in other corporate company. And prior to that, even when I was very young, a schoolboy, I was already working in my father's business, in his car repair spare parts business. I grew up in a very small kampong called Banting, and even when I was very small, like 10 years old, 11 years old, I experienced and I saw the hardship of people that were affected by the Great Flood in 1971. Those of you who are old enough, you will remember in 1970-71, where all the commodities price fell, and then we had a terrible flood. And that flood wiped out a lot of people's livelihood, years of wealth, years of savings, houses were destroyed and things like that. So I never forgot the hardship of people, and including ourselves when we were in Banting. And that set me on a path of always preparing for a worst case. Yeah, for example, in our lives, we can have 10 years of good years. 1 year, the locusts will eat up everything. Yeah, 1 year, when you talk to people who live in Japan, in Taiwan, and some of these countries that are exposed to earthquake, they can live for 30 years, and 1 year of one moment of earthquake can destroy everything. So they, we are sitting in MCO now for, I think what the noun is, the 18 days, and tomorrow we will hear announcement. There is already a lot of talk that the MCO might be extended. I don't want to confirm that. I don't want to speculate, but rather I would say, what are the lessons learned before the MCO and during the MCO? What is the lesson being learned? So this sharing is entitled Rest, Reset, Recover, and Grow. So which stage are we now? So let us now explore. Right. If I'm speaking too fast or not clear, please kindly text to the organizer so that they can tell me to slow down. Yeah, because I know some of you may have got poorer connectivity.
Okay, Royce, right. Someone is saying that there is echo in your voice. So he's listening to some echo. So perhaps are you too near or too far from your, from your computer to screen? They say your phone nearby.
No, I'm speaking on Jabra loud speaker, and it's 1 feet from me. So maybe if I put even closer, tell me if there's any problem. Yeah. All right.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
so
same as
right. So very quick 2 slides just to introduce Bosch as a company. Bosch is a very unique company. It's 92% a foundation. It started 138 years ago by Mr. Robert Bosch in Germany, Stuttgart. And he grew the company very quickly. But by 1965, he put in his will to make it into a foundation. So it is a yayasan. Yeah, it is not a public listed company. For a company of this size, it's incredible that it is a foundation. So for its dedication and its and focus, it is now very big in these 4 sectors of mobility, industrial technology, energy building, and consumer goods. You probably know Bosch more from power tools, wiper blades, and spark plugs. These are the most external thing. But Bosch makes a lot of things that a lot of people do not know, especially in mobility. So it is from mobility that a lot of Industrial 4.0 comes out, because this kind of business, you are constantly talking about productivity improvement and innovation in product, in costing, in price. Just to start this thing, to tell you that from the first day we negotiate for a new project, already we have to commit price reduction of 3 to 5%, or sometimes even 7% year on year on year on year. Yeah, 3%, or maybe 5, or maybe 7 for the product life of that vehicle. So if it is 5 years, it is compounding every year and a price reduction. So good times or bad times, we were already exposed to this kind of pressure to reduce our cost and price. Yeah. So then let me take you now to the next slide. The company is big. Now, to a lot of people, when they say, the company is very big, so it is strong. I can also tell you from all my experience, big company has big problems. Small company has small problem. So it is a matter of ratio and proportion. Yeah. And the bigger a person, the bigger a thing, when it collapses, the crash is even worse. When they are small, they are nimble. Yeah. So Bosch has now grown to about 283 factories in the world. Everywhere, and in Penang already 3. The first factory in Penang is now 47, coming to 48 years old. So it is an old factory. And in Malaysia, I'm happy to say in 2018, at its peak, the 3 factories in Penang were exporting about 5-point-something billion ringgit worth of goods outside of Malaysia. It's a company that has only about 410,000 employees. It spends a lot of money on R&D, and so it grows. Yeah. So now with 283 factories, and in this present situation of world shutdown, lockdown, this COVID virus, We are now in Southeast Asia now. We have been working from home, and it's even before the government has announced it. We have been instructed to work from home until end of April. Yeah. So how do we run our business and our life now with all this? And in every country that COVID is affecting, like Japan, China, of course in Germany and in America, we are there. So we are also affected. Right. So now let me go on to the presentation proper. All right. For the first time, MCO, we see clean skies again. Just as recent as 7th of April, a few days ago, Jakarta, if you have been to Jakarta, they have never seen blue skies. And because of this lockdown, in just a very short time, you see blue skies. And in China, even though with a lot of vehicle electrification, they already have lots of electric motorcycle on the road that doesn't produce much fumes. Already you can see in a matter of 1 month, they start to see blue skies. And this is repeated everywhere. You can read it in Facebook, you can see in news. Yeah. So if there's a silver lining, I would say the silver lining is blue sky, clean air. Yep. So let's see how we have come to this situation in this state. Right. Now, before I carry on further, I like to give a word of encouragement. And this one for myself also, for my family, to you and to us in Malaysia. I'm happy. Since I have experienced our economic situation in the 1970s, then in the 80s, in the mid 80s, for those of you who are old enough and already working or having business then again in 1996, 97, 98, the ASEAN financial crisis, and then in 2008, the subprime. And then we actually had a mini recession in Malaysia in 2003, but most probably a lot of people did not know about it. So I'm happy to say that after the ASEAN crisis, our government has put in place process to strengthen the bank and strengthen the financial the sector. So today, our bank, our savings, our insurance sector is strong. Yeah, our infrastructure has been built up after 1980s. Now we have one of the best roads. Our electricity is strong. Our ports are ready. Our airports are there. Yeah, our government, our sultan, our kings are all intact and all talking to each other, and this is very important. And then that comes to you and I, our work, our job, our career, our company. If you are a businessman outside, you think about your company and your employees. If you're an employee outside, you think about yourself and your family, right? So what is the situation now? And then of course with our suppliers and our customer, we need both of them. Right. I would say, and I wonder whether you would agree, if you read the news and you look at balance sheet, I personally feel very confident that our financial sector is strong, steady, has got money, and has the ability to borrow more if we need to. Our infrastructure is there. Our government is there. Our laws are there. So I would say that this infrastructure is there. It is not destroyed. It is not like it's in a war or even in an earthquake or things like that, right? Then the next big question will be ourselves. How are you in your family, in your company? I hope that it will be a green tick, yeah, entering into the MCO. Then your suppliers and your customers, they are very important, because even if you are functioning well, but if one of your suppliers, very important supplier, is having problem, you can't even produce things, even if you're working right now in your factory in essential goods. Then of course your customers, wherever they are. All right, so the big picture for Malaysia is, I'm happy to say, we are strong compared to others. Now it is important to always compare ourselves, yeah, because I had a regional role for many years, and in BOSCH we get to see a lot of news, a lot of market information, a lot of country information of other countries. As I told you, we are operating from nearly 70 to 80 countries in the world, yeah, actively, for such a big company. So we have a lot of country and market information. So I'm very happy to tell you, relative to most and many other countries, we are strong. For example, even in EPF, probably a lot of people do not realize that Malaysia, we are one of those few countries that has enforced savings. And EPF, as the total money inside, we are the top 10 largest funds in the world. Yeah, so there is money there. And now money are for retirement, money are for rainy days. And now it is raining, and now it is raining heavy. Yeah, so right. So let's go on to the next one. Now I've divided the timeline to 3. I call it pre-MCO, and now we are in MCO and probably lockdown, and then post-MCO. Right. Let's look at the pre-MCO. The pre-MCO, I think most of us would agree, our life was very hectic. If you can grow 6 arms, all 6 arms will be working. If you can grow 2 bodies, 2 bodies will be everywhere working. Yeah, we were very rushed, very hassled, very hectic. And then we started to become obese. Malaysia now is the 2nd most obese country in Asia. Right, and with obesity comes all kind of problem from hypertension, diabetes, and things like that at the early age of late 40s and 50 years old. Yeah, and our productivity goes down. And then due to all kind of reasons, because people go back late, and so after dinner, and then they watch movies, and they don't get enough sleep. And the next day, now as cities and towns become bigger and more dense, we face a lot of traffic jams. And what used to be 20 minutes now takes half an hour, 40 minutes, 45, and even 1 hour. Okay, so the conclusion is, prior to MCO, and up to January last month, our life was hectic, overwhelming. Our health suffer. We have obesity, we have insufficient rest and sleep. We had too much distraction. Yeah, and in our jobs, we were always firefighting. In our homes, we were always firefighting. And then suddenly, there's a stop. Now, a lot of people say that COVID is the one that stops us. I would say COVID or no COVID. I like to confess that I'm a religious person, and I would say that I think God, whatever name that you name him, put a stop in our life and said, stop, stop, yeah, stop. And I would say, because I believe in a loving God, I would say he's telling us to rest, stop. Yep, don't destroy the earth, don't destroy our own life. And so I expect that, well, I confess that I did. I had more sleep. I caught up with sleep. For the first time over the last few weeks, I managed to get a full 8 hours of sleep. Yeah. And I actually started to catch up with a lot more TV. Because, you know, when you're very busy, you just don't have time. Yeah. You can't even concentrate watching TV. Then I'm sure now more and more people either have gone or going through this phase of being bored. And then some of us even feels guilty or grieving. Yeah, guilty. And a lot of people might start to say, oh, we have done a lot of damage to earth, and this is karma. This is thing happening to us right now. It has. And you will find that a lot of people become even more religious. And it's true, particularly this week. This few weeks, this month is a very special week and month for all religion. From Christians who are going to celebrate Good Friday on Friday, and then Easter, to many other cultures, to the Indian, to the Thai, Cambodian. This is the new year. And for Muslims, it's going into Puasa. So it is a religious month, and everybody starts to think, what have we done? Yeah. Frankly, if you ask my opinion, if we are thinking what we have done, I think it's better than not reflecting at all. Yeah, it is good for us to reflect. And then we go to the next stage after we are bored. Yeah, and then we can go into the next stage of being worried for our jobs. We start to see our money reducing. We start to see our savings being reduced. And those of us who are in heavy borrowings, we start to really worry. And then all kind of question crops up. You can't even get out of the house to let go your tension and your stress. Yeah. So confusion, anxiety, worry, guilty, bored, all this. Yeah, and then you can serve social media. The more you serve, the more bad news we hear, and it only compounds the issue. Now, what about post-MCO? So I would say that we leave this one for a later slides, but right now, let me take you now to another journey of economics, yeah? All right, let's look at the world, because as I mentioned to you, Malaysia now, we have become an export. We have always been an export country. So our life, COVID or no COVID, slow down or not, depends on our export market. We export our oil, we export our goods. So if the world suffers, we suffer, yeah? So if you look at this chart is called gross world product. We always talk about gross domestic product, GDP. Now I want to show you the GWP in trillions of US dollar. So if you go into Google, you go into Wiki, and you go into a lot of data from for World Bank and all that, they will give you GWP or very far back. So, but I've only taken from 1500 AD. Now it's 2020. So it is now broken into two segments. For 500 years, half a millennia, from 1500 to 2000, and from 2001 to 2019, just 20 years. Now, it took so many years just to reach on in year 2000, 41 trillion US GWP. And guess what happened in the next 19 to 20 years? It went up double and more. So 2019 registered about 92 trillion US GWP. So the growth, the gross world product, everyone is producing things, selling things to each other, yeah, own consumption and all, grew at such a tremendous exponential rate that by 2019, that year 2019 alone was 92 trillion US. And just 19 years or 20 years ago, it was only 41 trillion for year 2000. And what does that mean? It meant that consumption went up. China grew, a lot of economy became rich. Yeah, so consumption grew, and pollution, whether it's in consumption or whether in the production of things, we polluted the earth. And then global temperature, you may have read a lot already. For the last 10 years, our global temperature has been going up and up and up, and last year was the hottest year on planet Earth. And if I'm not mistaken, February was the second hottest month whenever it was recorded. And you have seen many images of our North Pole ice melting. And when ice melt big time, seawater level rises, and you know already that even in Jakarta is now in a big rush to move their capital to Kalimantan, because for those of you who know Jakarta well, every year their water level is growing at the rate of 1 feet to 2 feet seawater level, which means houses and factories and roads are flooded. And you know, even in your own factory, even if you have 1 inch or 2 inches of water flooding your factory, you just cannot operate. You just imagine half a feet, 1 feet, 2 feet of water. And if you remember the great flood in Bangkok, yeah, in Thailand, that flood went up so much and stayed for so long. And the impact of that flood was we were the beneficiary of that flood, because company like Honda moved up from there and moved to Malacca Pago. It was because of the Bangkok flood. Now that flood only affected one country, Thailand. COVID is affecting everyone. So if I come back now to this GWP, carrying on, because of our consumption, our output, we were stressing resources of raw material, of minerals, of clean water and things like that. And then when resources are limited, economically, price goes up, cost goes up. And then we were so busy producing that we don't pay attention to inefficiency, and we created a lot of waste. So yes, the world grew, but so is everything else. That the output of it also, the bad output also grew. Now let's come to a company level. On a company level, many companies in Malaysia and the world, business revenue grew. Everyone is happy, probably getting bonuses and better salary. We talk about high salary, and so salary went up and went up and went up. But people have not paid attention, or people may only just give lip service by saying productivity have gone down, yeah, processes have gone down, skill has stagnant, and no training is provided, yeah. Then a lot of things have to be reworked in the factory. Inventory goes up, yeah, breakdown of machines, breakdown of people, breakdown of equipment, breakdown of relationship, and then we employ more people, foreign worker, and people work OT. So total, the end of the story is cost went up. When cost goes up, productivity goes down, or productivity low productivity increases cost. And then when that happens, we're not competitive. COVID or no COVID. Yeah, this situation has been running for a long time, and I would say not just in Malaysia, but many other countries as well. But for us in Malaysia, I want to stress that it was even more, it's even worse for us. The reason is, for those of you who know ASEAN and Asia well, almost every country in Southeast Asia and Asia do not have subsidies in their lives and in their business. Malaysia, our fuel is very cheap even before the fuel price is low, right? At around 95, we're looking at 205 before it went down. Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia is expensive. And when fuel is high, electricity, utilities is expensive. Our cost of life is expensive when fuel cost is high. But we are low because we are heavily subsidized. We are subsidized left, right, and left, right, and center. Rice, electricity, water, everything. You name it, almost everything is subsidized. And therefore, all our inefficiencies is based on subsidy. And the other major problem that we have, not seen in Southeast Asia, is that Malaysia uses a lot of foreign worker. Lots of foreign worker, and this one is now costing us. Yeah, so please keep in mind two things. We live on subsidies and we live on foreign worker, and both of these has become like sugar for us. We have become very diabetic on it. Yeah, COVID or no COVID. Yeah, this is during the pre-MCO time. So I take you now, change what we can control. Now, we sit in MCO now, and those even people who are working, at least they get distracted. We who are at home, whether husband and wife working, that is you and your family. Then outside of you will be your work. And if you are a business owner, the business belongs to you, yeah? And then outside of that, we have our domestic market, the lives around us, and then overseas, the global, right? If you're the business owner, you're worried about your company, but you have always been worried, even during normal time. Then outside of us will be suppliers, customers, and bank. Bank affects you as a person, and bank affects you as a business owner. And then also if you're exporting, you have got customers outside and suppliers, and even your customers might be overseas. Now, and you as a family or a business owner, the other major cost that you might have right now that may worry you, if you have got children who are studying overseas. So this is our world, right? My message to us is that we should not worry, and we must not worry what we cannot control. Because what we cannot control means what we cannot change or effect changes. Yeah, some things we can influence, but many things we cannot change. But what we can change is ourselves first, and then our family. We can change our lifestyle. We can now reflect and think what are really the non-essentials. And even if you list it out and say what is non-essentials, you have to really look and define what is really essential. You'll be very surprised what is essential or not. I would say this is what I learned in BOSCH, because after 26 years there, Every year, we are talking about productivity improvement in every aspect, on the office level and on the factory floor level. In dealing with client and dealing with the environment, we are looking at productivity improvement. So, you know, I remember even in my own career, like I think when AirAsia started, I really liked it for its simplicity. I really liked it for its operating from LCCT. It was easy to get there, you know, and things like that. So even as a senior manager, as a director of the company, I started to select AirAsia. I had a lot of people who said to me, don't do that, because if you do that, then later the upper management will say, okay, now AirAsia is a corporate plane, right? I didn't say that it was a lowering of my status. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it gets the job done. It reduces my cost. It is fuss free, right? It took like nearly about 6, 7, 8 years, 10 years before even the company, the management collectively said, yes, we can take AirAsia, right? So, but you know what I'm saying to you is that please look at your essential list. There are many things you can actually look at it and say, no, even the essential list, many things can go. This is the best way now to manage your, I'm not saying your cost, but I'm saying first, your fear and your anxiety. I am very surprised. In my job, I'm, by the way, I'm also, I handle my family business and so from very young, I already learned about cash flow. Now, I realized one thing, a lot of people have really never even worked out a cash flow for the year and for 5 years, for 10 years. Yeah, a simple spreadsheet, they have not even worked it out. And I would recommend, whether you own a business or your own life, you do need to work out a spreadsheet, a simple one, opening cash and closing cash. What are essential, not essential? And you got to discuss with your family, you know, and tell them what is not. And then you'll be very surprised that sometimes it is not as bad as it seems. It is because we don't know. That's why we imagine the worst, right? So coming back to connectivity, you need to connect to your family, among your family, and then connect to your company, to your colleagues. So, all right, then we talk about the outside world. So if I take you now to the next slide, let's talk about the company, because our life revolves around our company, our job. Yeah. So let's look at the company. Some company has ERP, some not, never mind. Then you have your accounts information and you got your logistics. For those of you who are not operating at all, non-essential, all companies has various people, yeah? And let's say, for example, I split this finance, purchasing, production planning, IT, facility management, sales, human resource, and the management, or the boss himself, right? I like to ask you this question. How connected are you with everybody of importance, your colleagues in the company, right? A good test of your company will be that its immediate connectivity. Frankly, we have no excuse now. You can create WhatsApp group. Yeah, you can create and you can Skype immediately from your home. This is one of its most fundamental tests. If you have not immediately been able to connect with each other seamlessly, having the same data real time, by the way, all these words are words of Industry 4.0, yeah? Real time, seamlessly, immediately, and everyone getting the same information. This is what it should be. Even if you don't have a special line, but you're using WhatsApp group, it's good. That means you are connected. Next, the other thing, to your outside world. Employees who are at home. Is HR now talking to everyone at the same time? Yeah, connecting to them. Can you imagine if you and I were employees at home? Can you imagine that your colleague gets to hear the news first before you? You know what can run in our mind? Oh no, I think my job is in trouble because the other colleagues hears it first, but I don't hear it. This is one thing I learned in BOSCH for so many years. When something happens, everybody hears it. Everybody hears it immediately. Same time, same news. We actually inform everyone to come to a town hall. Yeah, and the town hall is always headed by the managing director himself. So we hear from the boss. So if you own the company and you are the boss man, I would even advise you not to leave it to your HR or to HOD. You as the boss need to speak to your employees directly. In this time now, you may not be able to give any promises, but I think if your employees listen to you, they can get comfort that things are still happening. Everyone is still alive, right? Then the other thing would be your customers, the ability to connect with your customers. Even right now, I can tell you most customers can accept the fact that they might not be able to get supplies. This is the best time now to still keep in contact with your customers. Yeah, a good salesperson will know how to keep on engaging their customers, and your customer want to know is the moment MCO is lifted up, how fast can we spring back? And therefore I said you need to have connectivity between the sales, the purchasing, and the production. And then of course the very important thing, actually I would say top in the priority list, would be with the bank. Now, the management must have a direct line, the boss must have a direct line with the bank, and including you as an employee. Because bear in mind, no banks wants to be landlord. No banks wants to own your car. If you have problem with your assets and your property, they don't want to take over your assets. Right? They rather that you keep it and still pay. They can reduce it, but what you must have is a direct line to the bank, and you negotiate for a longer time or reduce interest rate or all kind of things. They want to listen to you. Make sure you're talking to them. So next will be with your suppliers. Yeah. So my question to you as a business owner, whether big or small, how fast do you connect among yourselves, among your key head of departments? Everyone, same time, same news, real time, right? And then next to your employees, then to your bank, with your customer and with your suppliers. You see, this is the supply chain. This is the horizontal integration and vertical integration. These are all words of Industrial 4.0. So if you are not well connected right now, this is a good time to think and to formulate how it should be. And believe me, it is not difficult. It becomes a lifestyle in your company. Right. Next, I'd like to take you, everyone asks about economic recovery. Right. I'd like to introduce to you three terms, the V, the U, and the L. Actually, it's just alphabets. This is over time, yeah, recovery of economy. Right, in 2008, 2009, we have this kind of recovery. We call it the V because it looks like a V. After a very sharp drop, it rises up. So in 2 years, it rises up. But actually, this particular graph is not an economy graph. It's actually the stocks prices, yeah? Because I'm going to show you real GDP recovery. Now there's the U. What means U is, it means it stays at the bottom for longer. It can stay for 2, 3, 4 years. How long is it? We really don't know right now because this COVID thing is spectacular. It's affecting the entire world. Then there's the L. L that it recover, it goes up, but it doesn't go back to its original, its previous trajectory, right? So what, in your opinion, what would Malaysia be? Bear in mind, again, yeah, I like to bring your attention that Malaysia is an exporting country. We depend on the well-being of China, of America, of Europe, of Japan, and all this. Incidentally, for you who have read, you'll find that China and Southeast Asia now are two of the top 2 largest trading partner of Malaysia. So their well-being affects us directly, right? And I would say if it is a U, there is also a possibility that the U may not recover as sharp as the previous trajectory, right? So what is it for Malaysia? Okay, I like to take a few countries that are similar in size, like Malaysia. I don't want to take America or Germany or Japan or China for comparison. Those are big boys. Let's take some who are about our size, about economy, about our population. I decided to take Thailand, which is next door to us, because I'm very familiar with Thailand. Then South Korea and Taiwan, a country, and then also Israel. Yeah, right. So you look at their population, ranges from 67 all the way down to Israel, which is only 9 million people, land size and things like that. Let's look at what are their outstanding concerns. Right, Thailand is a very agriculture. 60% of the economy is they grow their own rice. They are the second largest exporter right now. And then Malaysia, we are quite self-sufficient and we have oil, something that these 5 countries don't have. Right, South Korea, Taiwan, and Israel are always in a state of defense war. Yeah, due to incursion and due to with their neighbors and all that. For those of you who know South Korea, winter, you just can't grow anything. You don't grow in spring, you don't harvest in summer. Sorry, you grow nothing in winter. People can actually die if they don't even live in a house with heating. Then in Taiwan has got earthquake, right? Israel is always a state of tension of war. Now, cost of operation, cost of living, and all this country, Israel is most expensive. Then comes South Korea and Taiwan. Malaysia, we are good, and Thailand even cheaper in some aspect. Yeah. Now then, let's look at all their costs that affects their operating cost. Thailand labor and land is cheap. Malaysia, our labor and land is still cheap. Fuel, utility is cheap, even cheaper than Thailand. Thailand has no subsidies. Malaysia, we are subsidized left, right, and center. Then of all the other countries are worse. So labor, land, fuel. These are the things that impact operating costs. Now then, knowing all this, now let's look at their GDP. Okay, before I go on, just to introduce again. So Malaysia, Thailand, we grow our agriculture. We have got palm oil. We have got rubber. We make machines. We make machines. Yeah, we make equipments. We export. And the other country makes semiconductors. South Korea famous for mobile phone, and then softwares, right, and also R&D. Now Thailand, more than 20% of their industry is in tourism. South Korea, Malaysia, we have a lot of tourists, but Malaysia we have something very unique the others don't have. We get something called free oil from the ground. Yeah, all the rest have to be processed and made. Now let's look at GDP per capita from 1984 all the way to 2017. Yeah, right. Thailand, Malaysia, Israel, South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong. I threw in Hong Kong just for fun. For a very small, compact country, its GDP per capita is higher than everybody else, and they don't make manufacturing. They are mainly financial and things. Now, look at 1984, where Malaysia GDP per capita was even higher than South Korea. Look at that. It crossed at about 1985, and South Korea went all the way up. Okay, this is nominal GDP per capita. Now, let's look at when it is factored in all other costs and everything else. We call it the real GDP, right? So Taiwan, South Korea, Israel has become what we call developed nations. So they come to what we call a plateau. Yeah. Once you factor in everything else, inflation and things like that, they plateau, but they're still higher than Malaysia. Malaysia, we are continuously growing because we are still heavily subsidized. Yeah, we are a growing nation. Now, it looks nice to be seen to be growing. Yeah. The next chart is what I like to focus you. So if you look at this one, you see there were drops. They were dropped in 1985. Malaysia, we had a very severe economic crisis that only affected Malaysia. If you look at this graph, it was a property bubble. Then came in ASEAN crisis in 1996, 97, 98. ASEAN countries dropped. Yeah, Taiwan did not, right? Because Taiwan was exporting a lot to America, right? And then in 2008, the subprime, we were affected as well. Let me draw you now to just Malaysia and Thailand. We have similar curves, except 1985, we were very, very worst off. Then the ASEAN crisis, We had 11 years of great growth from 1986 onward, all the way to 1997. Suddenly, we had a big drop, the AFC, ASEAN Financial Crisis, that was triggered by Thailand. Yeah. Now, look at our recovery. Did we recover V or U or L? I think a lot of us did not realize that after the AFC, we actually never recovered V or U. We actually went on an L. We seem still to be growing, but that ASEAN crisis stunted us. Yeah, we lost, we lost the momentum to go back to the original trajectory. And now you look at the last few years in 2017, 16, 15, we actually even went off from that lower trajectory. Now, some people said, Royce, you're only using the last 30 years from the last 20 years from ASEAN crisis. Can you go back further? Yeah, let's go back to 1984, perhaps. Yeah. Now, whichever it is, I would even call it is worse. It becomes L minus minus. The graph has the trajectory has even become even more less gradient, less sharp. So the message that I like to share with you is COVID or no COVID. At pre-MCO time for many years, we seem to be growing, but actually we had lost a lot of momentum. We had not paid attention to productivity. And all that we need is a COVID to trip us big time, right? The thing in Malaysia is, I always say to my management in Germany, the problem with Malaysia is that we don't have problem. We are not like South Korea that has got winter, powerful neighbors. We're not like Japan that has earthquake and tsunami. We're not like Taiwan that has got that earthquake. We don't have drought. We have nothing like that. We have too much of everything, from too much rain, too much food, everything opens 24 hours. We get access to foreign worker and all these sort of things. We had it good for a long time and we became obese based on it. So message is COVID or no COVID. We were not growing properly. Yeah. So I like to share with you the last 2.5 years, thanks to appointment by the government, I had a chance to visit about 150 SME factories in Malaysia. It was extremely exhausting and tiring. Personally, it was very taxing on me, but I learned a lot, and today I like to share with you. The message is, before you look at the big picture, is to tell you our problem is solvable. Please remember this word. Yeah. So these are your equipments, whether you're in plastics or machines or CNC stamping, or even in service in equipment. This is your management, whether you got ERP, but definitely you've got maintenance, you've got cost accountant, you have got production planning, everything. You have got HR, you have got bosses, yeah, your management and things like that. Between your physical world, your equipment, your machine, your process, your shop floor, we call this your physical world. To your cyber world, that means your management, your planning, and all that. This is what this is what's happening in most SME in Malaysia. Actually, not just Malaysia, but also outside of Malaysia, yeah, in Southeast Asia. Very manual. Information is very delayed, inaccurate, very reactive. Management asks, shop floor provides, and very reactively, very labor intensive. Everything is still very paper, by hand. And after you have copied it, you employ people to key in those data, and normally it's not real time, it's end of the day, it's not accurate, and mistakes are made. Then machine breaks down suddenly. Yes, we do preventive maintenance, but I discovered there are many companies, all that you need is one machine to break down, the entire line is down, and they can't predict when the machine breaks down, despite preventive maintenance. And then there's no process data. There's no data at all. No real-time data from machine. No temperature, no vibration, no information that is important to be monitored or to make decisions upon. People don't know how to talk. Then everyone starts to be friendly to each other. Yeah. And then we wave all kind of flag from Nepali, Bangladeshis to every kind of nationality in our plant. All kind of language. We're very muhiba on the ground, shop floor. Ultimately, cost goes up. Nobody looks at energy. Nobody looks at how much consumption, which process, which product is using what kind of energy. Yeah. At the end of the day, is we are not competitive. Life is stressful. There's productivity loss, frequent downtime. This is the reality of SME, COVID or no COVID. Yeah. Now, look at these few boxes. Some of you have seen this before. It's the same thing as I've shown you just now. Manual data input, machine breakdown, lack of information, no energy, no energy monitoring or calculation. Yeah. Quality inspection, you're employing a lot of people to do a small sampling of inspection. Yeah. And it costs time and money. Then also no data, beautiful graphs on the wall, but they're not real time. Nobody looks at them. Yeah. And they're old. It can be 1 week old, 2 weeks old, 1 month old, and nobody really is put there for the auditors to look at. And then inventory. This is a serious problem in Malaysia, right? Can't find the things. I've even been to companies that tells me we do stock take 12 times a month, 12 times a year. I couldn't believe it, because to do stock take 12 times a year means you got to stop production 12 times, you know, and the variance is always 10%, 5%, and things like that. And it's not connected to their management, whether to the ERP or what, live, right? And then, okay, not connected. And then nobody sends people for training, nobody. Employees are too busy, and employees don't know what to be trained, what is there outside to be trained. HR hasn't got a clue. And management said, what's the point of sending people for training? And one thing though, a lot of employees don't want to be trained. I discovered that. The reason is because they are so afraid that if they go for training, they come back, they got so much work waiting for them on the table. And if they go for training, they're so afraid if they come back, they're given more responsibilities. Now, business owner, I like to encourage you to think like that. If you send your people for training, it's for them to learn what is new, to learn to say, there are new ways of doing things, there are improved ways of doing things. But they themselves may not be able to retrofit or to integrate. You have to call professional and experienced system integrators to do it. It's just like you, like us. We go to our panel doctor. He goes for a seminar about surgery for 5 days. And he comes back and said, I've gone for a seminar on heart surgery. Now I can do heart surgery. Would you let your panel doctor do heart surgery on you? You wouldn't do that, right? You probably say, no, I'm going to a specialist, a heart specialist to do it, not you. And a good panel doctor will say, now I can recognize the symptoms. Now I know what is the problem. Now I can refer you to whether it's a dietitian or to the heart specialist or whatever else. So please remember, employees, you must go for training in order to widen your perspective, to know what is available now to improve your process. And business owner, you must send your people for training so that they know how to do their job and specify. And lastly, the last box, this is the box that every business owner picks, almost every business owner. Intensive labor, very foreign labor dependent, and therefore it increased costs. They want to solve this problem. But I say to every business owner, in the first place, the person who employed all these people, the authority came from you. Yeah. Now in bad times, we want to get rid of them, and it is not easy, right? Now, dear all, I'm saying to you, look at these 10 boxes. Over this MCO time, look at these 10 boxes and pick 2 or 3 and focus on it. Think of how to improve it in your company when the MCO is lifted out. Improve 2 or 3, just 2 or 3 for the next 1 year. You will find productivity improvement. Believe me, it is low-hanging fruit. Yeah. And how would it be after you have implemented Industrial 4.0? This is how it should look like. And not necessarily you need to implement every one of them in quick time. It is a journey. It's a journey of 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Yeah. Number one, you reduce manual input. You can be using barcode, you can using QR, you can be using RFID, and you can be using cloud or in your own server, right? In digital quality inspection, instead, and you can do 100% inspection now in quick time with data, right? Equipments and softwares are existing. Active visualization, whether it's on your mobile phone, on your notebook, or on the cockpit on the screen. And predictive maintenance, digital inventory management, yeah, raw data, machine data, process data. Do you know this word OEE? Of so many companies that I've been to, the general OEE number in the Malaysian SMA, that means the equipment, yeah, OEE stands for overall equipment effectiveness. It's not efficiency. Effectiveness means how much is it giving you output. You know, the specs may say you can do 1,000 pieces, but end of the day, most people are only doing 300 pieces, 350 pieces. The OEE is only 30, 35%, 40%, around there. I mean, this is terrible. You know, so the business management, the business owner said, I've got now new orders coming in. I need to buy new equipment. New equipment means I need got to employ more people. I need to have more floor space and all that, without looking at existing equipment, without increasing the OEE, the availability and the performance and the quality of existing equipment and people. They start to buy new equipments. And new equipments mean new floor space and new infrastructure. So guys, if you are in production, if you're in whatever handling processes and business owner, look at the capacity, the inefficiency of your existing line. Right now, MCO time is the best time to think about it and what to do. Okay, Industrial 4.0 for Bosch does not mean buying everything new. When you have got 283 factories, many of them are old factories, Industrial 4.0 for us means to rejuvenate, to retrofit existing legacy equipment, to bring them up to a level that they can still operate for many years into the future at a minimal cost of introducing Industrial 4.0. But in the first place, we had to spend time thinking, training, being taught, think about how we do that for our own plant. And these are the services that we are also now providing to the market, to yourself. Yeah. So this is a bit of a advertisement. And lastly, at the end of the day, and please send your people for upskilling and training. There are skill centers everywhere. In Bosch, we work with Kismet, we work with many other skill centers. Equipments are there, software, their syllabus are there. Please, and you are paying HRDF fund, you must use it. Okay. And lastly, when these things are put in place, you will find that your foreign workers will be reduced, your productivity will improve, your people actually will feel very empowered and will feel belonging to the job. So please look at this and spend time thinking about it. Yeah. And now let's look at this one. We saw this picture. We are in this state now. What do we do during the recovery and the growth? What button do you want to press reset in your company, in your life? There are some options. I would recommend after that 100 old factories that I've seen, I would recommend you to look at lean manufacturing and processes, how to improve your existing manufacturing and your processes. By the way, this is a service that we in Bosch also provide to you. Please contact me if you need these services. Next will be digital transformation and connecting up your company, people, to your supply chain, horizontally and vertically, right? Next will be begin your Industrial 4.0 journey. Please contact me if you need this sort of services. In Bosch, we provide this. Yeah. Next, some more on upskilling and reskilling. You know, I will mention this 100 times to you if I need to. Please look at this. Yeah. And diversity. Please kindly remember, and this is something that Bosch has been practicing now, not in the world, but also in Malaysia. We are employing 3,000 over people, an output of 5 point something billion export, and in our total business about 6 billion in Malaysia, including export. You know, we because they invested in Malaysia, their attitude is wherever they go, they want to localize. So they embrace everything. In BOSCH, diversity of people, gender equality, male, female. Women can also do good work and maybe sometimes even better than men in certain area. Diversity of people of all race and of all culture. And you can consolidate them by providing proper education, proper training, upskilling, and getting the company together. Please practice diversity, because Malaysia is an aging society. It will come upon a time very soon that we have no choice. We have to take whatever people that exist. Lastly, you take your time now to think about strategic product and your target reorganization and strengthen your balance sheet. Okay. Now, how about as an employee? Tomorrow we will know whether MCO will be extended and for how long. Sydney is 90 days lockdown, and other countries now are going into lockdown, something that you've never seen. Okay, I would recommend, and this is what I've been doing all my life, and now it's even easier, right? Please, whether it's your mobile phone, notebook, or whatever, take it out and make Facebook, YouTube, and Google follow you, not you following them. Make them follow you. Because the artificial intelligence of all these softwares, if you tell him what you want, they will send you what you like to read and learn. Okay. And next, MPC is going to have a webinar on Industrial 4.0 Foundation. Please watch out for their Facebook, their Instagram, and register yourself. Right. This is a good time for during the MCO. And now, if you go into whether the social media, what are the keywords that you should use in order to train social media so that they will send you good images? Now, I'm very lucky in BOSCH, we have a huge library of videos in YouTube already that you can learn, self-teach yourself. But the keywords that you should use are keywords like, for example, BOSCH Industrial 4.0, digital transformation, 3D printing, cloud computing, BOSCH sensors and gateways, predictive maintenance, digital quality inspection. These are the keywords of Industrial 4.0, of lean manufacturing, that you should key in these words, and social media will follow you. So instead of bad news, instead of discouraging news, now you're getting self-training material free of charge. And the best way to always learn is to look at YouTube. You know, at my age now, I'm still looking at a lot of YouTube to teach myself. These are the things that you can do during the MCO class. Yeah. And so this is the last slide. And what is the future? You know, 26 years I work in BOSCH. Every time they ask me to look at the crystal ball 13 years ahead, and I used to tell them they are crazy. You know, the crystal ball that I have, just 3 years from now, it starts to become hazy and get overheated. Now I understand why they ask me to look in the future 10 years and beyond. Because BOSCH, we supply to all car manufacturers in the world. And you know, every time a model lasts for 5 years. And right now, when a new model is launched, we're already talking about the next new model. So that means it's a total of 10 years. And you add another 3 more years because of development and things like that, you're looking at 12 to 13 years. Now I understand your rationale. But you cannot be looking at crystal balls unless you have got data and information. You have got mega trends. You got education material with you. And which is why I emphasize to you again, self-teach yourself, upskilling, be reskilled. Please send your people for training. And you as an employee, please find ways to train yourself. So what is the future? And when we talk about future, 10 years from now, we are not talking just for ourselves, but we are talking for our children as well. Many of you will have children that will be graduating and coming out to work. Yeah, they would be lucky if they are now studying, because during the MCO time, if they are right now coming out to work, then it will be even more challenging. So what is the future? If you are not thinking for yourself enough, please now think for your children. Yeah, I would say everything that had happened in the past until January will reoccur again. It will happen again and again and again. A lot of people don't realize that in 1967, 1968, there was an ASEAN flu that in total killed about 1 million people in Asia. Everyone forgot about that. And then we have SARS and all this, yeah? So all these things, it will reoccur again, and it is cyclical. Whether it's economic crisis caused by carelessness, caused by diseases, caused by all sort of things, it will reoccur. It is cyclical, and maybe the cycle are getting even smaller and smaller. Instead of 12, 10 years, it might be 8 years, right? But I would advise us, although I don't sail, but I like sailing a lot. You know, if you have a motorboat, it's not fun because you're not doing the work. The motor is doing the work. I like wind sailing, although, you know, the way I talk as if I sail every day, yeah? But no, I don't. But those experiences I had, it was wonderful. I also, when every time I look at people surfing, I feel it's so exciting, you know, to be looking at people surfing on waves. But you know, when you're sailing on a sail catamaran or a small boat with sail, or when you are surfing, you are looking at waves. You're waiting for the cyclical waves that come. You ride on those waves. When the wind is blowing one direction, you lift up your sail, and your sail catches the wind, and you feel fantastic, you know, wind power. What I'm trying to say to you is that look at the mega trend, look at the cycles that are happening and again. And the only way they can look at it is to be reading about it so that you can be ready for it. Bad waves, you keep yourself safe. Good waves, good wind, make sure your sail is up and ready to catch it so that you can sail smoothly and quickly. Next, wars and conflicts. We will get more and more and more, and not just real war and conflict. We will get a lot of rumors of war and conflicts. Those rumors alone can affect our morale, and those can affect our economy as well. Yeah, and natural catastrophe, it seems that it's happening more and more and more nowadays. If it happens in California, the Ring of Fire, Philippines will get it, Taiwan will get it, and things like that. Aging society, Malaysia in particular is an aging society. At 32 million people, you know, our families are getting smaller and smaller. Now we want to have quality and not quantity. And the birth rate, the net birth rate, population growth in Malaysia is 2.19 person for every, I think every, I cannot remember whether 100 or 1,000, I cannot remember that, sorry, but it's 2.19, the number is 2.19. The threshold number is 1.9. Anything less than 1.9, that country has no way to regenerate again. Japan today is 1.6. No way it can regenerate. The population of Japan is shrinking. Even if they were to give birth very quickly, they cannot reverse the trend. And we in Malaysia is 2.16. I remember that number. So we are an aging society.
Right. Royce, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there are a few questions already. You know,
Okay.
People are now very curious to start asking you questions. Maybe you can wrap up, you know, this the last slide, and then we can proceed with questions and answer. Yeah.
I will do that. Yep. Okay. Right. Just one last line would be subsidies reduction. Yeah. I have shared with you, Malaysia, we will suffer from subsidy reduction. These are very specific to Malaysia. So what shall we do? I will say this, and it applies to me even at my age right now, is continuous improvement and innovation of the 4 Ps of your people, of processes, performance, and product through Industry 4.0. Yeah. Improvement on your process of the 4 Ps. And the first one is people. And then we will be successful. We can get back to our life and we will speed up the recovery. Thank you very much. This is my last slide.
Thank you, Royce. You know, it's an excellent presentation. Actually, it's very, very you know, mind opener to many of us, because we are just concentrating a lot on what's happening and figuring on the how to survive, how to move on, how. But I think we forgot to think about what we can do in between to be, ready, like you say, for the next wave. All right, and now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for waiting and listening. Okay, we are now open for questions and answers. There is the hand icon on your computer screen or on your phone on the right side. If you have any questions, can you just click there and, we'll see your questions and try to answer your questions here, okay? Any questions? Okay. Someone is saying that this is a very insightful sharing, Royce. Good experience for them, from Mr. Alan Fang. Okay.
Thank you.
Um,
Mimi, I cannot read questions, so can you read the questions if there are questions?
Yeah, okay, I will do so for you. I'm just waiting for the questions to come in. One of them is asking to share for the presentation, which eventually we will, but we will have to work with MPC on this. Yeah.
Right.
And I think they're typing in the questions. Maybe. Okay, Royce. While waiting for the questions to come in, I find it very insightful. Because I believe, like you do, innovation is the key to stay relevant. If you don't innovate yourselves in any way, you maintain at the status quo, we can never move on. And so Industry 4.0, everybody has this fear of Industry 4.0. They think it's really, really difficult. Everything is about robotics or AI. So they are not able, to go into that because investments will be high. But based just now on what you said that actually with legacy equipment, we can also, move up the scale and actually, what you call this, embrace or adopt Industry 4.0 with a legacy, okay, we have a question here. Question is dependency to manual labor. Okay, so maybe they want to know how we can move away from being too dependent on manual labor. Any thoughts on this, Royce?
Yeah, Mimi, you're spot on right just now. I think a lot of business owners think that robots are things that you can just implement and then immediately it solves a problem. No. In fact, I would say in Bosch, one of the most important person in production is a process engineer. He has to know the flow and the spirit of the entire process. Not only the process of things being done and the person that is doing it. Yeah, so there is an ergonomics that to do with human to machine interaction. And this is unfortunately very lacking, I find, in the SME. Because also the business owner or the head of department themselves have not had a chance to be exposed to other best practices that they can see. Yeah, big multinationals and things like that have no time to be showing what they do, and sometimes not relevant to the SME. Too much investment and things like that. A lot of SME don't realize that they had many years of growing. 30, 40 years, 20 years. Many SMEs are small, young, so they never had best practices. I would say to you, one of the good things is please again self-educate yourself. There is plenty of this thing in the Bosch YouTube. Yeah, look at it in best practices, lean manufacturing. Please consult us and all this, and also you get tax exemption even, or even sometimes a partial grant or incentives to do this kind of consulting. I found that a lot of companies in Malaysia.
Okay, Royce, sorry to
yes.
disrupt you there. Okay, another question has just come up here. They're saying that how can Industry 4.0 be applied to service industry, and how can we remove labor dependency for service industry? Because services will require people. Yeah, that's obvious. And but how can they use IR4 in the service industry? When manufacturing is different to them. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Even in any companies, for example, any companies has got salespeople, and this is service. Yeah, a salesperson have to travel, have to be meeting client, have to solve problem outside of their plant. Then you have got logistic people. You have got transport provider. You have got all kinds of services from training and everything. The very fact that you are attending this webinar is one aspect of Industrial 4.0. Means you're doing this remotely, you're doing this online, you're doing this through Wi-Fi, you're doing through Skype, you're doing through webinar. These are the ways to improve your relationship, your content, your quality with people. You can't reach them, but now you're reaching them remotely. So if you have got a good CRM system, a good software that's tied to your system, that itself is part of Industrial 4.0. Yeah. So I like to bring us back again. Actually, the service part is even easier now with mobile phones, which is like a computer on your hand. I mean, creating apps and things like that you relate with your customer. Or I mean, I like to give you a really good example. Post Laju, DHL, Grab, all this is using software, using internet to be connecting. These are all service providers. They are not manufacturer. Learn from them. And the most basic thing is they're using the mobile phone. They're using data. Data is real-time. Data is live, right? And connectivity to their end user and their supply chain. So this is called horizontal and vertical integration.
Okay. So that's for service also. We can actually, migrate into this kind of online services. Yeah. But what about services that requires, like for example, I know now, for say the hoteliers, how can they actually incorporate 4.0 into their services? Perhaps that's what they are, someone is interested to find out.
Yeah, this one I personally saw it live. My brother builds up the entire what's the word? I don't even know. Connectivity for a hotel in KL. He does it for this boutique hotel called Wolo in Bukit Bintang. I was very impressed that connectivity, whether the room is open, the room is aired, the utilization of rooms, and the quality of rooms and the lightings and the air conditioning and everything. It is real time and has an active cockpit. The management, the maintenance, and everyone is looking at the same data. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, Industrial 4.0 means same data. You can process those data, but it must be the same base data that everyone is using. So there's no creation, there is no mistakes, and it must be real time. And every stakeholder gets the same data and knows what to be done. So he does this, yeah. So whether the room, the utilization of the room, which room is used more than the rest, and why not? And so a lot of planning can be done after that. And this was for hotel. I was very impressed. Yeah.
Okay. So which means that what is important for everyone here, the take is to have real data shared to the right people at the real time. No lagging, no kind of like tomorrow you get something, and okay, another question here. They are, I think like in many people, they know how important it is to move on to, to adopt Industry 4.0. But I guess, how to do it. The how is always, foremost in their minds, because sometimes to understand when you attend conferences, like I say, there's a lot of kind of jargons that they use that frightens people into coming into Industry 4.0. So how can we in Malaysia make it simple for even people like me to know that, oh, I am already part of Industry 4.0 because I'm using these applications and all that. But how can I move further into my work, into my business? So what's your advice on this?
Yeah, I would say that from my experience, after that 150 over SMEs that I visited, a lot of people may be willing to spend money on hardware, something they can touch, they can feel. But you know, where Industrial 4.0 is concerned, a lot of it is on software, on invisible things like sensors, small things. Yeah. So a lot of business owner, even a lot of head of departments, they feel so difficult to be spending money on software and hardware and services. Yeah, on data, on getting processed data. They said, oh, I can see if I buy a robot, it's a big thing. If I buy a machine, it's a big thing. But when it comes to paying for services, for consulting, for helping them chart out and to guide them, for some reason, they just said, I can't see it, I can't feel it, so I won't spend it. I want to see what other people do first. I want to see grants from the government to get me doing. I said to myself, grant or no grant, COVID or no COVID, we got to get our life going.
Okay, so you're saying that the major stumbling block, if I can use the right word there, is that SMEs are not willing to what do you call this, or are more hesitant, not to say not willing, they're more hesitant to invest in software because it's tangible, they can't see, intangible, they can't see. They prefer to go for hardware, that means machine, right, thinking that new machines are the answer to everything, yeah, to new productivity and new good production line and all that. But in actual fact, it's not so. If
No.
the investment that they use in software should also bring about even better results than just buying a new machine. Isn't that so?
Right. Yes.
Is that the mindset? Is that the mindset that you met, that you've seen while you were visiting these companies?
Again and again and again. Yeah, and a lot of people are employing people just to record data, if they're getting data, writing by hand, and then rekeying in and all this. This is so unproductive. And then people wonder, why have I got so many employees and foreign workers? Yeah, they don't look at when equipment breaks down and they have to have a disruptive repair, then everything goes into overtime. The only person that really likes overtime will be the Banglas. They are looking forward towards OT, right? So therefore, I'm encouraging everyone again, look at, you do preventive maintenance, but nowadays preventive maintenance is very, very past. Now we're looking at predictive maintenance. That gives you 2 to 3 weeks before a machine breaks down so that you can schedule a short downtime to solve the problem. And normally this kind of scheduled downtime is manageable and much cheaper.
Okay, I have a question here. All right, Royce. Productivity is a major problem amongst Malaysians. Foreign workers have become part of us. How do you think we can move away, especially in the service sectors, from this? To become more productive and to move away from being so dependent on foreign workers, especially in service. Yeah, they're talking about in service industry here.
Right. Again, I like to repeat. Yeah. In BOSCH, again, the success is that the process engineer is very important. He is the one that will know which he must identify, whether it is with a consultant. We provide this sort of consultancy. We call it lean manufacturing, lean management. We identify with the process engineer where is really the wastage and to solve it systematically. It can be a change of people's behavior. It can be change in the way the line is set up. It can be change in the way of what better equipment to be used. It can be also a change on how the product is being designed. Yeah, so there are different steps of solving the problem. And much of it, and then at the end of the day is the non-productive people will be reduced.
Okay. Well, somebody is just echoing your statement, saying that, we are too complacent. Even the large companies, we are too complacent. So we have, like you said, never faced major problems and too much of subsidies compared to other countries. So maybe there's also a reason why we feel that there is not a need for us to innovate. And there's not a need for us to, to change, or why change something that is good? But when I see your curve and I see that actually our recovery after the AFC is actually a minus, L minus, oh, I think we are living in a false kind of situation, thinking that we are healthy. By in actual fact, we really need to work hard to move upwards again, right?
Right.
Yes. So that's a comment here. Okay. What kind of trainings you would suggest for Industry 4.0 migration, or for them to embrace Industry 4.0? What kind of trainings would you suggest to SMEs or to even large corporations?
Okay. This
This is by Encik Bakar. This question is by Encik Bakar. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, this is applicable. It's approved by HRDF. There are two centers of BOSCH, our partners, that provides training of sensors with gateways. So sensors that you put onto your machines and your equipment and your environment in your factory floor or wherever else, and then you stream them through gateway. This training is provided. HRDF pays for it, subsidize you. One is in Kismek in Kedah, and the other one is in MIT in Kota Kemuning. This example. Another one would be the mechatronics bench. In Germany, the German government used our bench. We call it the BOSCH MMS 4.0 mechatronics, where the German government sends all their people for this training to be standardized in their knowledge of Industrial 4.0. So in this bench, HRDF approves it. I think it's ranging from 1 week to 2 weeks of training. It can be broken up, where the person is trained from sensors to PLCs to Wi-Fi to virtual reality to 6-axis robots to 2-axis robots to every aspect of Industrial 4.0 for manufacturing. So again, two locations as this is Kismek in Kedah, Kulim High Tech Park, and the other one is MIT Kota Kemuning. HRDF approved.
Okay. Okay, Royce, I think we are running out of time. So one last question. We are talking about manufacturing and Industry 4.0, but is it applicable also to property developers and construction companies, so that their reliance on, manual labor can be reduced?
Right. This is good. Yeah. So for me, even construction is in a sense even easier, because process-wise, product-wise, it's easy to see, it's big, it's huge, it's only a matter of a large area. Yeah. Again, it is connectivity of people, connectivity of processes. Yeah. To have it real time, to have real data, common data. How you're going to process it for the production to see, the quality to see, for accounts to see, is a matter of processing those data. But the data must be real, must be real time, must have data learning about it. So it applies to production, to construction as well, to your material handling, because in construction, material is huge inventory, and also to vehicles. You don't want your vehicles to break down. You don't want your equipment to break down. So there are sensors that checks for all the equipment and vehicle health before they break down. This is Industrial 4.0.
All right. I think okay, two more questions here. Okay, we have a question that says, "What is the success level for your training programs in Kismet?" Have you actually gauged the success level of of those people who attended this programs for IR4, or
Right.
you?
Okay, I personally call up some of the companies that went for training. The reason is, when we are providing solutions, some solutions I said to the company, you can do it yourself, but please go for training. So they did. So they actually, without me knowing, they went to Kismet for training. And then much later, I found out that they were trained, and asked them, so what's the quality? They said it's good. They have implemented themselves. Yeah. So please bear in mind, the entire Malaysia entirely, we are all on the learning curve, from the end user to the factory owner to the head of department to the engineers, and even to the training center, and even including the government and the banks. Everyone is on the learning curve. So I'm very sure the skill center will become even better and better as time goes by.
All right. Okay, Royce, I think, we've come to the end of our webinar here today. Thank you very much. It was a very insightful, like they say, excellent presentation. You're making it, IR4 seems to be easy busy. That when I say easy busy means that it can be embraced, it can be done, if only we are willing to, to understand it in the simplest form. And so for those who are unable to attend, or to be part of our webinar today, do you see yourself, being involved in another series of talks like this? I mean, similar one, almost similar to another group of people?
Yeah,
Can
I
you?
think MPC has already scheduled a total of 6 to the first session, first part. So we should have one more next week.
Okay, that's great. So for you guys out there, for those who have missed or who wants to listen again, there will be another session with Royce next week. The dates will be made known to you via their platforms, Instagram, Facebook, or even Twitter. And we'll let you know. So Royce, thank you once again from all of us.
Can I just add one more? Can I add one more? One more, yeah. So, dear audience, I'd like to encourage you. When MPC have that webinar for Industrial 4.0 Foundation, please register and attend. I will be the trainer there. Now, training for this theoretical training is also possible to be done at your location. So if you can have 20 old people of the company to be sitting down together, because this is what I noticed in the last 3 years. I've spoken and taught in master classes and also in workshop and seminars about 63 to 65 over the last 2.5 years. Always it's one person for a company. Yeah, and this person normally when he goes back may still be struggling to stream down to his management, stream up to his management or stream down to his people. I would encourage, and it's very difficult to get the whole company to be sitting down, especially the head of departments and the key people. Now training is possible to be done at your location or even webinar for company specific. For those who are interested, please let me know either through MPC or directly to me. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Royce, thank you very much. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope to see you again next week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye, Mimi. Bye-bye, MPC. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, Royce. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. So this is the end of our webinar.